V Rising is a survival RPG where you awaken from a coffin as a vampire in a world full of monsters and powerful creatures, and you have one goal: to take on everything stronger than you, suck their blood, take their powers, and learn their abilities. Craft your castle, create your kingdom, and become the most powerful creature in the land. The game is V Rising, I'm Medieval Marty, and today I'm going to be jumping into it for the first time and going through the good, the bad, and my experiences along the way. And if you like this style of video, consider subscribing to the channel for more as they come out. But let's get straight into this. So we start in the character creator, and it was pretty good. It's a pretty good character creator. Tried to make the most edgy character possible, so went for kind of like sharp features, purple eyes, black hair, long black hair. And this is pretty much as emo as I could get it. I'm pretty happy with this. He looks very edgy, vampire-y. The character creator was really good. So you start and you wake up in a coffin. And the game gives you a basic tutorial, you know, WASD controls, click to move and click to attack. And you have to go out and fight the different zombies, pick up their resources, and learn how to craft. And it gives you like a basic quest system in the top left. There's like a quest to follow as you go through. So you start in this graveyard area, fighting the skeletons with your bare hands, just swinging around and picking up their bones. Once you have 30 bones, you craft a bone sword and a bone ring. And the combat was pretty good. The combat feels pretty smooth. There's like an impact to it where you hit and it's quite a satisfying hit. The sound, the animation, everything kind of feels very polished and very smooth, which you rarely get in a survival game. And then you're introduced to the abilities. There's two. There's an R and a C, or like there's two active abilities. One was like a long range bolt, and then the other is like a mist you can put around yourself that lets you counter attacks as they come in. And then it kicks you out of Tutorial Island. You kind of get into the real open world. I think this is the main game map now, and it gives you the recipe to craft a bone set, like your full armor set. So there's like a bone chest piece, leggings, braces, and gloves. So these need bones and rugged hides. So I had loads of the bones from the graveyard. I had to go and farm the rugged hide, so was on the search for any and every animal I could find. And one thing I noticed is as you're fighting these animals, so I was fighting like a deer and a wolf, and as you get the animal low, there's the option to feed. So you can just press F and feed, and it drinks their blood, which is a system I don't still quite fully understand. As you drink their blood, the bar at the bottom goes up. Say you've filled up your blood, which I guess is important to stay alive as a vampire. But then you unlock blood types, which seems to be like every creature has a class and a quality. So the wolf was a creature. That was its type creature. There's like humans, warriors, things like that. But the creature gave different abilities like movement speed, health regeneration. And the quality of the creature that you feed from is how many of those abilities you unlock. So I fed on like a 2% wolf. So you already got a very small amount of movement speed. Really cool system. I'm excited to like see more of it and see how in-depth it is. But with that out of the way, had enough leather to make the rest of the armor, the greaves and the boots. And that, as you equip those things, your gear level increases. So that I think everything in the game is like driven by this gear level. You don't seem to have like a character level, but you seem to have like a gear level. And just upgrading your weapons and your armor increases that gear level, which is pretty cool. So once done that, you unlocked bone axes and bone maces, the ability to craft these. And they seem to do, I think they were like the same amount of damage as the sword. However, they give a better chance to extract resources. So I think it's the equivalent of having like an axe or a pickaxe in a normal survival game. You can use the axe to chop trees faster and you get more resources from the tree. And then the mace, I think it is, gets more from rocks. And that's kind of when you start the real survival experience, right? Chopping trees. Any survival game leads to this. Just chopping trees. The quest is just to collect wood and stone. So you just use your axe and your mace and you just swing. There's no like mini game. There's no weak spot that I could see. You just swing. And the last part of this quest was to defeat living beings and drain their blood essence. So I was out looking for creatures, found some wolves, and the sun was shining and it just completely melts you. The sun just does so much damage because of course you're a vampire. Maybe it told me this somewhere, but I didn't pick up on it. I was just out here fighting wolves and the sun was just deleting me. And yeah, that was the end. So there's like a dial in the top right and it had just turned to daytime. And when it's daytime, you can't go out of the shadows. So, you know, lesson learned. But yeah. I went back and picked up my inventory because that seems to drop, but your equipment doesn't. So I went and got all that back. And then the next mission was to find a suitable place to build. And it said, go build your castle heart. And there's these areas on the map that are like highlighted. So as you hover over them, they're kind of highlighted and they glow. And I think that means you can build there. I'm not sure. But a lot of these are like elevated up. So they seem to be like recommended build spots. Some of them, the circular one you see, that's like a bandit camp. But then all the other ones that are on like pedestals, on like higher ground, they seem to be like build spots. So I went to a couple that seemed okay. And I found one I really liked, which was just north. And it was kind of like ruins. It was kind of like it looked like an old castle or an old structure that's been destroyed over time. So you can go in and you can just swing your mace and start destroying it all and open up some ground. And then I place this castle heart. And this seems to be like your claiming stone. This is like your piece you put down to say this land is mine. And that unlocks the foundations and the walls, and the real building can then open up. And it's good. It's good. Everything sort of snaps in together in these squares. But then when you're placing stuff on the floors and you're placing your actual pieces of buildings, it's completely free. You can rotate them, you can move them around, you can build them. It's really good. I got to say the building here is one of the best I've played. I really, really like the building in this game. It just feels very free and without restrictions. And the game just gives you like this little cookie trail of different things it tells you to build, so you can progress and unlock more building things. So I did that. I cleared out a lot of the old ruin areas. I destroyed them to get some stone. Placed like the coffin, which is like your bed. You can go in there and recover health. Place the chest. And just kind of built out this little area. I feel like as you keep playing, you can build like an actual castle. But I kept this very open, very, very much outside. I put a few walls down just to pass the quest like at the entrance. Just really basic stuff. But the most interesting thing you can place is this mist building, this mist thing. You place this thing, and I didn't really get what it was, but you put bones in it, and what it does is it turns the bones into mist. It like grinds the bones down and releases a mist. Now that's really cool, because what the mist does is it protects you from the sun. So even though this is your base, you still get melted by the sun because you're a vampire. So with this mist machine, it lets out this this fog, and it makes a cloud all over your base that grows out, that you see it growing out now, and that protects you from the sun. Really cool mechanic that means you can sort of go out in the night, do all your collecting, your harvesting, finding people, raiding camps, and just doing like vampire stuff. And then you can come back and craft, build, work on your character. And you can do that in the day because you're in your own like covered mist area. Really cool. I guess in the end, you'll have actual castles with buildings, with ceilings, but this is so cool to start with. Yeah. And then you can put blood in as well to kind of protect and fortify. If you're playing on a big PvP server, I imagine that keeps you safe and keeps that land yours, like you claim it for yours for longer. Kind of like how Rust works, I'd imagine. But then it was time to get to work. I started proper grinding for resources. I cleared out loads of the trees, loads of the rocks in this base area to get a bunch of resources, build some sawmills, build a workbench, because you have to start, the next quest was to bring up your gear level. So you had to start crafting. And the workbench, when you interact with that, lets you craft more than what you can craft in your own inventory. And the first things you could upgrade was your base gear. So your basic gear that you craft at the start, you could turn into plated bone guard gear. So I already had all the stuff to make that, but that was the easy stuff. The next is copper. So you need to start making a sawmill and put wood in there. You need to get a forge and put copper ore in there, because that takes much more advanced items. But to start with, we had this basic gear, and that got us to level 20. Doing that unlocked probably the main part of this game. I think this is, if you had to say what is V Rising, I think this sums it up. V blood tracking. So all of your progression in this game seems to be tied to this blood tracking. So you open up this V blood system, and it's every single hierarchy of powerful creature on the map. So the first creature it tells you to go and track is this alpha white wolf. Doing that learns the wolf form, where you can turn into a wolf and run on all fours. Increase movement speed as well, which is really, really cool. But as you scroll up, there's just so many different creatures. Like, it goes all the way up to like level 90, this big figure, like Dracula type thing at the top. And every creature has a different reward tied to some sort of progression. So some gave like ability points for like different magics. Some gave new crafting stations, new blueprints, items. Just all your progression, most of your progression seems tied to this V system. But the first one is the wolf. So you set to track it, and it will tell you if it's near, far, distance, kind of proximity to this creature. And then you just go hunt it. And that's what you do. You're a vampire and you go out and hunt these creatures. And you try and hunt stuff within your level range and get stronger. Really cool system. I think this is awesome. And after a short walk through the night, I found the alpha wolf. And yeah, the combat was very basic at this level. There's not really much to it. You have a swing of your sword, and you have these two abilities. One counters, the miss counters, and then the R is like a bolt. So yeah, that's the fight. There doesn't seem to be any sort of blocking. Maybe you can get shields later on, but there doesn't seem to be any way to block the attack. So you either dodge with your spacebar, which is where like you dodge out of the way and leave a shadow of yourself, or you just move. I think that's the only way to do this. Just move, attack, and be fast. But yeah, the first fight wasn't too bad really. It was not bad. The counter deals a lot of damage as well. But once you defeat it, it kind of drops to the ground, and you can hold to extract, which is where you go over and you take the V blood. And this is So good. It's just so cool. Honestly, I love this. It's great. You take this V-Blood from the creature, everything around you just sort of explodes. All the items just drop on the floor. All the trees blew up. It was awesome. Everything just crashes around you and you gain its power. So you now have the vampire power wheel, so you can like hold that down, see the different powers, and one of them was turn into the White Wolf, which is just so cool. And I gotta say, up to this point, combat did feel, traveling did feel a bit slow. Traveling felt a little bit rough. There was no like fast travel. There's no sprinting. So having this wolf form that you could just go into, there's no like mana required. You can just turn into this wolf whenever you want. It seems, it's awesome. I think this is great. So yeah, the game feels a lot more open now. You can just travel around as a wolf. And then while traveling back, I noticed there was like this bandit camp. So of course went in and started attacking everyone. And you can do the same thing to these bandits as you can to the animals. You can fight them like normal, and fighting with the bandits feels a lot more fun. It was a lot more challenging because if you got a few of these on you, like 3 or 4 on you, and you had like rangers with crossbows on you, stuff like that, you could lose. You actually had a bit more danger than just fighting against the animals. And you can also feed on these, same as you can the animals. So this one here was a worker. So he was like, he was just a miner kind of thing, and you can feed on him. And his blood quality was 22%, which means if you were to look at the workers, if you look at worker as a category, his blood tree has like increased resource yield, increased damage against resource objects, so you can mine faster, you can chop trees faster. And if you have the higher quality worker blood, you become much more efficient at harvesting resources, which is a really cool system because you're constantly going out looking for these high resource targets. I think this is great, but there was like rogues, warriors, brutes, all these different things, all with their own different set of blood categories and their own rewards. I think that's awesome. I don't know how deep it goes, or I don't know what happens if you get a really good one and then lose it and go for a different one. Don't know if they save it anyway, but just finding them and discovering them is really fun. And everyone I'd found was like 2%, 5%, 10%. But then I was fighting this warrior and he had a 95% blood quality, which I'd never seen anything over like 10%, 20%. So yeah, I looked at this and the things you get is so good. 20% increased skill recovery, reduced damage and increased damage when attacking enemies, increased physical power, like so much cool stuff from these blood abilities. Like it was a rank 4 blood ability, which is really good. I still don't understand if I want to get anything different, what happens to that now, or how to keep it. So let me know down below if you know. But yeah, I think that's probably one of my favorite systems in the game. And from here, I set myself kind of 2 goals. One was to farm some copper ore and get into like the copper production, make like a foundry building and turn it into copper ingots so I can make copper weapons and armor and stuff. And then the other was to do the next mission of hunt more blood carriers. So these were the next tier up on the hunt list that you can go and track down. So I set up 2 of these furnaces and put all the copper I've mined into them, and they sort of just auto-generate. There's no like coal or anything. I think it's just you put in stuff in and then you decide if you want that turned on or off. That was it really. And then once they're working away, you just wait for the copper ingots to come out. I built 2 because they seem really slow. The sawmill seems slow. The furnaces seem slow. I don't know if you're supposed to sleep or if you're supposed to go out while they're working, but they seem really slow. So I built 2 of each and just kind of waited around so I could build these copper weapons. And while they were doing it, I looked at the next tier of monsters that you're supposed to go and hunt. And it was the Foreman, the Archer, and the Stonebreaker, I think it was. And each gave completely different rewards. So the Foreman gave a wood crafting bench and a crossbow, the ability to craft crossbows, which is awesome. The Stonebreaker gave a material storage, which is useful, another type of resource. And the Archer gave a tannery. So all your progression is completely dependent on how fast you can farm these creatures and how fast you can progress, because it seems like you can't just, there's no like native skill tree that you can just progress through, or like a table that you can allot points to get new recipes. It seems like everything comes from, or almost everything comes from hunting these targets down. So while all this stuff was in the furnace, I had it out. There was one boss nearby, but unfortunately I left at the worst possible time because it was day. So I was kind of just trapped in the shadows. I could make like a couple of steps and then the sun pushed me back into the shadows. It beat down so much. But there was the Foreman. So I sort of cautiously crept around the shadows, opened a few chests, and just got rid of all the minions that were around, all the workers and everything, and Just waited for you can see like the sun moves, and as it moves, shadows fall in different areas. A lumberjack axe dropped, which was sick. Seemed better than the weapon I had. Let you chop down things more. Pretty good damage as well. And yeah, I just sort of waited. I tried to find the best opportunity, but the sun just kept moving and the shades kept moving. So I just tried to fight in the shadows. Luckily, he came to me. I gotta say, even early on, the combat still just feels good. You can... There's like things to dodge on the floor. There's ranged abilities, close range abilities. The bosses have multiple abilities. You have multiple abilities. There's ad phasers. There's, there's the sun. There's lots of different things that come into play that make combat quite challenging. And right now, I've only got like a couple of basic weapons. I don't even have like the ranged weapons or any good magic. And it's still a really good challenge. But after slapping away for a while and hiding in the shade, he was defeated and we could extract from the foreman. So this was our first, I guess it's like the second level of hunt targets, but just one of them. There was 3 at this level, and the quest in the top left was to defeat 3 total. So it was to defeat 2 of these 3 to progress the next part of the quest. But defeating the first one unlocked your first spell point. So you can see here, there's all these different skill trees at the top. There's like blood, chaos, poison, lightning, frost, things like that. And I've got no idea how you get all this different magic. I assume it just comes from these different V blood targets that you have to take down. But yeah, defeating the foreman gave us one blood magic. And we already had 2. We had the mist and the bolt. So I unlocked the blood rage, which was I think the only thing that was unlockable here. And you can just drag it on your bar. It seems like you can only have 2 abilities on your bar, which I'm not a big fan of, to be honest. It feels a little, I'd like to have more. Coming as like I play a lot of MMOs, your hotbar is like 20 buttons long. You kind of have a piano of abilities. It's kind of weird only to have 2, but it is what it is. Back at the base, I still didn't have enough resources. They were still processing, which they take so long. So I looked at the next one. We had unlocked the foreman. He was done. So I looked at the others, and the closest one I think was the Frost Archer person. Keely the Frost Archer, and that unlocked a new machine. So given how long they were taking to process, I thought, let's go get that one. Unlock the tannery. So set that as the hunt target and went out to do it. And when I say like these are fairly close, it was literally like a minute of travel in the wolf form. Really close. So I'm not showing it. It was literally just 30 seconds to a minute of traveling to another one of these camps. This one was I can't remember what camp it was. But right outside there was a vampire hunter, Tristan the vampire hunter. And he had a skull and looked very intimidating. So I hid. Because I could sort of pulled everything back and just fought around this corner because I was very intimidated by this vampire hunter. Is he doable? Is he someone I should attack? I don't know. I decided not to. Let me know if I should have, if he dropped something really good, if he's doable. I'm very curious about that. But yeah, as a coward, I waited for him to pass, snuck in, and then slurped up the blood of a 79% brute, which felt really nice because one of the first brutes I'd seen. So nice little power upgrade, ready for the boss, which was in this camp. One of the best things about these camps is they actually give decent items. You can see just there, I don't think I even realized at first, is that dropped a crossbow. I've not got any ranged weapons yet, and I just find a crossbow on a random mob, which is really good. You can go into a chest and find copper ingots, like fully processed copper ingots, or like gems. I don't know what to do with gems yet, but genuinely good items just in these camps that save you time from processing. You don't have to craft them. You just find things. I think that's really good. You don't get that very often. Like these sort of games, generally, progress is relied very heavily on you making the stuff. But to find items, like I find the axe, which was an upgrade, found the crossbow, which was brand new. But yeah, it's a really nice touch that just makes the camps more interesting and makes it doesn't seem like a chore to go there. Enough yapping, there was a boss to fight. Keely the Frost Archer was here, and I had a crossbow too. So an arranged fight, which was interesting. The ranged weapons are incredibly satisfying. I feel like one of these is new. So this has just come out of early access. It's full release. It's 1.0 release. And they added, I think they added ranged weapons. Maybe they just added longbows or something. But the bows are fun. That's all I know. And I don't know, the fights just seem to keep getting better. Like they have, the bosses have more mechanics. So this one would do a AoE. They could go invisible. They had a spread attack, a close range attack. I could now switch between close range and far away. I had a ranged weapon and a close range weapon and a ranged ability and a close range ability. And yeah, there's just more depth. Again, I still only 2 buttons. It is what it is, but there's a lot more depth once you progress a bit further. So yeah, definitely still would recommend that this combat is really enjoyable. And it might look basic, but it's fun. And then we were done again. Slurped up another V-Blood. And this was the one I think that unlocks like the tannery and the next set of processing. So more progression. And not only that, but that finished the main quest. So the main quest was to hunt three more blood carriers. So yeah, this finished that main quest, unlocked the research desk, which is another item for the base. So back at the camp, I did some tidying up, destroyed a few more trees and stones and kind of expanded the area a bit more, placed a bit more flooring, and looked at all these new buildings. But the wood cutting thing just seems to make more planked style things, like different wood, which I assume you just need for higher tier buildings. I placed the tannery and put some of the leather from all the animals in, and I placed the research desk. Now, this seems to be the other way to progress. So you have all of the stuff you get from the V-Bloods, and this seems to be another way to get technology. So it says 18 out of 50 paper. So as you get more paper, you can unlock a random technology. Now, I don't know if this is going to be like a machine, like a forge or a tannery, or if it'll just be like a new type of bow or something like that. Not sure how it works, but I don't have any yet. But what I did have in this chest was a book. So I found a book at one of these camps earlier, and they are used on the research desk. So it seems that whatever is on the book can be unlocked at your base. So the book was for a type of ring. The book was for a blood ring, the Dawn Runner ring. So all you do is, if you have the book in your inventory, you can go on that item in the research desk and research it, and then you can unlock it for crafting. So I guess finding those books and having, I'm pretty sure I just dropped off a random mob or was in a chest or something. So another incentive to go out and clear these camps. You get resources, you get weapons and armor, and you get new recipes for research. So all in all, it's a really good system. And then it was time to upgrade the craft. Finally, all of the ingots had processed, all of the planks had processed. So I started making wood, copper swords, copper maces, had all of the linen and everything, so I could make the Night Stalker gear, the armor, the hair, the armor, the legs, the gauntlets, the feet, all that stuff. So I had a full set of armor and a new shiny sword, and the gear went up from 20 to 28 and looked a lot cooler. Finally started feeling a bit more like a vampire now, which is pretty awesome. I think I'm going to wrap this up here. This has been like the first video. A lot of progress, got a lot of the introductory building and crafting stuff done, big jump in gear. Next is just to hunt a bunch more stuff and progress further. And I'm probably going to start building an actual castle. So building some, proper floors, proper walls, get some roofs, and actually build these into rooms, and then hunt out these harder creatures and maybe try and understand how the abilities work, get some more abilities. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this. This is the first sort of playthrough style video I've done in a long time. I've got a few on my channel that haven't made one in a while, so I'd love feedback on this. Is this a good style? Do you want to see more of it? Let me know in the comments, because if there's a good reception, I'll definitely keep this series going. I'm loving the game, and I'll be happy to share it with you. So let me know. Subscribe if you want to see more. But that's it from me. This game feels really, really fun so far. But thank you so much if you've watched this. If you've watched to the end, thank you so much. That helps me so much. Thank you for watching. Take care, and I will catch you hopefully in the next one.